Sang Yu is a young screenwriter caught under the wheels of ruthless capitalism. As a child, he dreamed of becoming a great writer. But with every dream, his life turns into an endless merry-go-round of deadlines. He returns home, barely keeping his eyes open. Suddenly, the train doors swing open and not a controller but a demon piles inside. Sang Yu wants to scream, but in the next instant he is brought back to reality. He wakes up. He has tried everything to get rid of his nightmares, shamans, psychologists, even a strange guy with a beard. But all to no avail. Now he has only change for breakfast. But the shopkeeper notices that Sang Yu is spending the last of his money and generously adds a free egg to his humble sandwich. Just as he is about to take a bite out of the sandwich, someone taps him lightly on the shoulder. Looking around, Sang Yu sees the person he least wanted to meet. It's Sang Ji, his former co-worker whom he left behind. But as it turns out, Sang Ji doesn't hold a grudge against him. On the contrary, he treats him to dinner. He complains to him that his creativity has dried up and he doesn't know how to get out of this emotional hole. When he gets home, he sees his stuff in front of the door. It seems that the homeowner's patience has been exhausted. He heads to the cafe, but as soon as he drops his eyelids, the demon reappears out of the darkness. He jumps up from his seat, but realizes he's still in the cafe. It was a dream. Reality and nightmares have mixed, and now he can't exist on either plane. He no longer sees the meaning of life and climbs to the roof of the building to take his last step. But at the last moment, he hears a voice. The same good-natured salesman who treated him to an egg in the morning is now offering him something else. The vendor shares his advice with him, and the man thanks him. He watched Hua the only warm light in his world. She worked at a cafe nearby, and he always stopped by to see her. That night, fate threw him overboard. No home, no money, not even a hint of a future. He exchanges his cell phone for a paltry sum. As he walks out of the store, he is accosted by Hua. His heart sinks. But it turns out to be a demon that is stalking him. It grabs him by the throat and the air is instantly ripped out of his lungs. Fear grips his mind, the world plunges into darkness. But before the darkness consumes him completely, Sang Yu remembers that this is just a dream and there is no need to be afraid. The demon disappears like a shadow in the dawn. Sang Yu wakes up to find himself holding the object that the demon used to kill him. Not believing his eyes, he goes to an antique store to see if it's a fake. He is offered a huge sum of money for it, and he comes out with a bag full of money. With this money, he immediately covers his basic needs. Now the taste for life has returned to him. He falls asleep again, already anticipating a new prey. This time he finds himself in an empty corridor. A demon appears from the shadows, this time armed with a battle axe. The demon makes a dash and the axe cleaves the air, almost reaching him. Sang Yu remembers that this is just a dream. Afterward, he regains consciousness in his room, clutching the battle axe in his hands. The antique dealer receives another rare item. And Sang Yu gets even more money. He's no longer just living, he's thriving. Expensive clothes, restaurants, parties. The former screenwriter, used to counting change, now spends money with ease. His appetite is growing, now he has turned his dream into a business. He falls asleep again and finds himself in an elite museum. He chooses the best of everything, gold pieces, statues, rare artifacts. But the demon is not going to let him go with easy prey, now he is armed with a machine gun. Bullets pierce the walls, turning the museum into dust. Sang Yu dives behind a column, but the demon catches up with him. The blows rain down mercilessly, pain piercing his body, consciousness slipping away. He doesn't have time to pronounce sentence and wakes up without his prey. Anger boils inside him. He falls asleep again, even more determined than before. This time, against all odds, he manages to grab 2 items. The money flows in a river. One day, as he is spending the money, Sang Ji notices him. His former co-worker looks at him, amazed at the change. The poor, unsuccessful screenwriter is gone. In front of him is a successful, confident man who is unrecognizable. Sang Yu invites him to a restaurant. They sit down at a table, leafing through the menu, not paying attention to the prices, because the price does not matter. After receiving the money, he regains his self-confidence. He returns to the cafe where Wan works and learns that it is for sale. He decides to take this chance and buys the cafe from the owner. After that, he appoints Wan as the manager of the cafe. He returns home in a good mood. At night he dreams of a money vault filled with cash. He greedily stuffs the bag with bills, but suddenly feels something invisible knocking him down. This time, Sang Yu not only saves himself, but strikes back. The real world changes as well. The cafe is thriving, and he decides to thank the merchant. While the merchant is working, he slips a huge sum of money into his bag without saying anything. One day he finds himself in a golden pit full of jewelry. This time the demon doesn't attack, but just sits there as if waiting for something. Sang-yu approaches and notices the golden belt on him, the source of his power. He reaches for it, but at the last moment the demon touches his chest and disappears. When he wakes up, he finds strange marks on his body. Dreams begin to seep into reality, not only in the form of objects, but also in the form of sensations. He feels restlessness, anxiety, fear. One night, he sees himself in a dream. A clone of Sang-yu stands before him in a dark, dim version of his world. This dream scares him even more. Sang-yu woke up, breathing heavily. Pain throbbed in every muscle, and fresh scars burned on his skin, the imprints of his nightmares. He ran his hand over his chest, trying to erase them, but the scars went nowhere. On the way to the cafe, he was stopped by two men. Rough hands clutched at his shoulders and he was pushed into the van. The interior smelled of sweat and fear, and he was about to meet Chang Si. The gang leader was sitting in a chair. He wanted to demand a ransom of 10 million yuan for his life. The money was brought, but instead of letting Sang-yu go, the gangsters greedily grabbed Sang-ju. They want to know the truth, how Sang-ju was able to amass such a fortune in a short time. They went to his house. There, behind a secret staircase, there was a treasure waiting for them. The bandit looked at them like a child entering a candy store for the first time. Meanwhile, in the hallway, Hua was anxiously looking for it, not realizing that she was walking straight into a trap. The bandits easily grabbed her. Sang-yu, mad with fear for her, offered anything to get her released. At this moment, his friend came to his senses, grabbed a massive golden statue and knocked out the bandit in one fell swoop. After that, they decided to run away. But Sang-yu was falling down from helplessness. Sang-jae decided to sacrifice himself to save his friend. But his sacrifice was in vain. The bandits caught up with them. After a few blows, Sang-yu lost consciousness and woke up in another portal. Sang-yu stepped into the portal, and memories flashed before him. Ups, downs, successes, failures, like a cut from a movie that someone is playing at top speed. He reached for another portal, but suddenly his body froze like a dummy. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. His skin cracked, his fingers stretched, his face contorted, and a savage pain flared inside. He was turning. Just like the one that haunted him in his dreams. The monster burst into the real world, tearing through the walls of his apartment. The bandit didn't even have time to react. The dagger flashed through the air, and he was gone. The other bandits rushed to escape, but the monster caught up with them before they could. During the struggle, a bullet hit Hua. The demon turned to Sang-yu, raising his gun. At this moment, Sang-yu declared that it was only a dream. He woke up in the store. Hua was standing in front of him, but something about her gaze was strange. She carefully brought him food, but the feeling of eerie déjà vu wouldn't let go. Life seemed to have returned to normal. Sang-yu continued to write scripts, earn money, trying to forget about the nightmare. But one day, it all came back. The salesman to whom he had secretly left the money returned it. And Sang-yu saw the scars on his body. He immediately realized where they came from. And realized he was still trapped. The only question was there a way out? This is where the movie ends. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and put a like on the channel. See you soon.